the originator of the modern death metal scene from Florida would have to be Death. When we started out as late '83, and there's no scene, you know, people didn't even know what death metal was and thrash metal in general. And, you know, it's very difficult to be playing that type of stuff back then.
Well, a lot of the players from the hardcore bands started hearing, you know, heavier stuff, basically, and then they decided to go branch out and start to, you know, develop a style of music of their own, and that's where the Death kids started doing it, you know, and I think it was just a logical kind of, you know, progression from it.
We stuck it out, and, you know, little by little, I could see the, you know, scene progressing, definitely, and I think a lot of people have been proven wrong in general about thrash.
It's kind of weird that it's just this particular area that in Florida that's got the majority of death metal bands that are kind of famous in the world.
What we have here is off limits. This is basically kiddie land. Nobody's here.
Venues have always been a problem, you know, have always been a problem. We've always had problems with venues, you know, authorities getting down on us,
Right.
Bar owners don't understand the kids, the police don't understand, you know, the way that they, you know, go out and enjoy themselves, especially when they mosh and they, you know, get a slam pit going.
Non-alcoholic, all ages, like kiddie land, basically.
The first time for us with no alcohol, because I usually have beer on stage, so this will be the first time with no beer on stage. So it'll be interesting.
And we've been told they've heard of us and they understand what we do and not to do it here. No dirty words, no violence, and we've been told they have a security guard who knows what moshing looks like. And if it's not proper, they're going to stop the show. We've been warned.
The club scene in Tampa is actually pretty piss poor. There was one place, the Sunset, where a lot of the bands got their start and played at, and that's closed down. And basically now there's a couple, like the Rocker Club, a couple places that are just like play regular metal. That'll have like a thrash night or a, you know, death night. But it'll be like on a Monday or something, and you basically have to pay to play. And
this is Paul. He's the main man here at the club.
Obituary was maybe one of the first to actually come out of our studio, but there were a lot of bands in the area that were at the same time. I'm not sure it's fair to say that Obituary started it. It all seemed to happen almost at the same time. I'm not, you know, it's like something like a pot that's ready to boil, and once it goes all at once, and that's kind of the way that I see what happened here. Well, the success, I think, of some of the albums, particularly that Scott has done, but some also that myself and my brother Jim have worked on, got a lot of recognition, and we've had a lot of bands coming from New York and California, and Texas, and the UK, and Germany to come and record with us, and that's great. We love that, and we love having a reputation that allows us to do that.
Well, it's the death metal capital of the world, isn't it?
yeah, you just go.
Get the results.
You go wherever's best. I mean, it doesn't matter if there's 10,000 bands been there before, or one or none. You just go wherever's the best.
The point is, I mean, I know a lot of bands are probably thinking, I know it's happened, that bands have started to think, oh, well, let's not go to Morris Sound because everybody else is doing it. Well, that's not the main issue as far as where we're concerned. The issue is that Morris Sound continually comes up with good albums. We're in the right environment to record now with Scott Burns in the studio he always works in. It's going to be so much easier from the production and engineering point that we can just really sit back and let Scott take care of the whole of that, and we can really concentrate on just recording a good album.
People in the press have said about me, isn't it trendy to use Scott Burns now because, like, say, Death has used me or Obituary has used me. And, you know, that may very well be a true statement. But the only defense I can offer is, you know, there's nobody else in this genre that listens to underground music that does that likes heavy music that I know of as a producer or engineer or whatever you want to call me. Also, there's probably nobody that can do an album, or not very few people, I shouldn't say anybody, that can do an album for $5,000 or $10,000. I'm definitely a fan. I mean, you know, but I would say I'm probably more of a fan of extreme music than just death metal in general. I mean, I probably got into death metal late, probably not till 85, 86, after, like, Venom and Possessed and all them. But like I said, I've always liked anything from the Sex Pistols when they came out. I thought they were probably, you know, it was great just to stand up there and spit on somebody and, you know, I don't know. But anyway, that's another story.
At the time we went there, not many bands had gone there. And like now it's like totally overkill, you know, we've got to go and use Scott Burns and all that. And, like, it was good for us because like,
We went for the clarity sort of
yeah,
thing.
that album to me just proves to people that we weren't just a noise.
It's not fair for Scott because a lot of people just look at Scott and Morrisound as like the new in death metal thing, right? But fucking Scott's into the music. I've known him for like a long time. I recorded with him before with another band. And it's unfair when they say like, oh, he's like the trendy producer for death metal or whatever.
I mean, he's totally into the music.
He's into the music. He produces bands he likes.
I guess if the band decides that they wanted to spend $85,000, then that was their decision, and that's great. But at the same time, I mean, I think if the record label's telling you to spend $85,000 because you're going to sell X amount of more records, I think that's a load of shit. Because I think, you know, that a lot of $5,000 albums, you know, Obituary, the first album, was done for $3,000. And it's probably sold 50, 60,000 copies. Maybe not that many, at least 40, I've been told, you know. And I mean, you know, I think, you know, that's not what the music's all about. It's not about slick production or anything like that. It's not like listening to a Madonna record. I mean, kids like it because it's extreme, because it's brutal, because it's heavy, because whatever. It seems like the labels always make money, but the bands rarely do.
We were called Executioner before we were called Obituary. Changed our name because, you know, we had to because of Boston Executioner. And, you know, it was a sudden change for us to change our name because we were Executioner for, you know, 5 out of the 6 years we were Executioner. And then now, right before Slowly Rot came out, we had to change our name for that, you know, before our first album was released.
What happened is that I'm not playing in Obituary anymore, and luckily this time, you know, this is one departure from a band. It's definitely a real, you know, friendly situation. You know, I'm still really good friends with the guys in the band, and we still get along. But it was, what happened was that when I joined the band, the former guitar player Alan, who was a founding member of the band and an original writer of the band, he had to leave for personal reasons, and once he got them resolved, it was always understood that that my position might be temporary.
I'm very pleased with this album. I mean, with Slowly Rot, I think we had to be pleased because that's all we could work with the budget, with the equipment we had, and, you know, with the experience we had. Now, with Cause of Death, the music itself, you know, not just the production, but the music, the songs were definitely, we were more mature as a musician, as songwriters. We were definitely better songwriters than on the Slowly album, I think.
The lyrics definitely vary. Some bands there are no lyrics, or very little lyrics, say, like Obituary. I mean, John, I don't think he ever planned it. One day we were just sitting around and we were going to write down lyrics, and we, you know, came up with it that there really wasn't any lyrics, that there's a few lines here and there. And like I said, I don't think it's anything John ever planned. It's just his style. But I mean, I've seen them practice 100 times, and he'll always sing the same thing twice, you know. I think the funniest thing is he'll tell me after a show, or some kid will come up and say, you know, yeah, I was singing along to Cause of Death. He'll ask him, well, what were you singing? I don't even know what I was singing. Right out of this ride, all day to tell this time, with my knowledge till the day, still saying the analysis, stay with the God of Death.
Aces Records has been in Oldsmar for 5 years now. We started up in New Jersey about 10 years ago, and we've really built a heavy metal business here. There really wasn't any heavy metal here, and we've really grown from a small booth to a 2,000 square foot store. And we've got people like James Murphy from Obituary who works there, David Vincent from Morbid Angel. A lot of the local death bands come in here regularly. I think a lot of the kids that started with the traditional heavy metal and got into the death metal can't go back, because there's so much energy in the death metal that anything less than that is just boring.